Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're diving into a topic that literally plagues almost every single one of us: procrastination. We are going to unpack the surprising psychological and biological reasons you keep delaying important tasks, and more importantly, uncover the science-backed path to actually taking action.
Have you ever just told yourself, you know what, I'll start tomorrow? Yeah, we've all been there. A deadline is creeping up, tomorrow suddenly becomes next week, and instead of just sitting down and working, you suddenly feel this overwhelming, almost uncontrollable urge to deep clean your entire kitchen. You know you're actively hurting your own progress, but you just sit there scrolling, wondering why intelligent, driven people sabotage themselves like this.
Well, here is the massive paradigm shift you need to hear today. Procrastination isn't a time management problem at all. It's actually biological. Avoiding your work isn't about being lazy or lacking intelligence or just needing to download a better calendar app. It is a deeply rooted psychological and biological issue tied directly to the way your brain is wired. And the good news, once you understand that science, you can finally break free.
So, today we're breaking down this biological battle step by step. We'll cover the procrastination myth, your brain at war, the dopamine trap, the hidden root of fear, why you need systems over motivation, and finally, how to actually take action.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, the procrastination myth, and why it is absolutely not what you think it is. People love to use the words laziness and procrastination interchangeably, right? Well, psychologists completely disagree. While laziness is a total, apathetic lack of desire to do absolutely anything, procrastination is actually an active emotional choice. You are actively choosing to do a less important activity instead of a more important one. You know exactly what needs to be done, but you simply delay it. Because procrastination is highly emotional rather than logical, most procrastinators are painfully aware they're putting things off, and they feel incredible guilt while they're doing it. They aren't apathetic at all. They're just emotionally stuck.
Which brings us to section 2, your brain at war. This is the internal battle for control.
Basically, inside your head right now, two distinct systems are fighting a turf war. On one side, you have your logical brain. It rationally wants long-term success, future rewards, getting good grades on an exam, or successfully building a business. On the other side, you've got your emotional brain. Now, the emotional brain is entirely focused on the present moment. It demands instant comfort and pleasure. It looks at a massive study guide and says, "Oof, that looks difficult, let's just watch some videos instead." And unfortunately, in the heat of the moment, the emotional brain is almost always stronger. That's exactly why we so often choose instant comfort over our long-term goals.
Let's move on to section 3, the dopamine trap, also known as the chemical of motivation.
To really understand why your emotional brain almost always wins that tug of war, we got to look at dopamine. Every single social media like, every ping, every short video, it gives your brain this immediate, effortless hit of dopamine. That is instant gratification at its finest. Now compare that to delayed rewards like studying, building a business, or learning a complex new skill. These activities do not provide instant dopamine. Because modern technology literally trains our brains to constantly expect these rapid-fire dopamine hits from our phones, those delayed reward activities start to feel incredibly boring and painful by comparison. Your brain is just naturally taking the path of least resistance to get its quick fix.
Now for section 4, the hidden root of fear. What are you really avoiding here?
See, most of us aren't procrastinating because we're just lacking off. We're doing it because we are secretly afraid. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of criticism, or even just the fear of making mistakes. Your brain actually uses procrastination as a form of emotional protection. Think about a student preparing for a huge exam. If they study their absolute hardest and still fail, man, that is incredibly painful to their ego. But if they procrastinate and then fail, well, they have a built-in excuse. They can just blame their lack of preparation rather than facing the terrible feeling that maybe they just weren't good enough. It's a subconscious shield against uncomfortable feelings.
And this fear is heavily amplified by what's called the overwhelm effect. Have you ever stared down a massive project, say a 500-page textbook you need to get through, and instantly felt physically exhausted? Your brain looks at the sheer scale of the task and immediately thinks, nope, this is impossible. The project becomes so impossibly big in your imagination that instead of even trying to start, you completely shut down. The task just grows into this unbeatable monster in your mind.
This leads us perfectly into section 5, systems over motivation, and exactly why waiting to feel like it completely fails.
So, if our own biology, our dopamine receptors, and these hidden fears are basically teaming up against us, how do we finally break free? Well, the absolute biggest mistake people make is waiting for motivation to strike. They tell themselves, I'll start when I feel motivated. But motivation is temporary, it's inconsistent, and it is highly unreliable. Some days it's there, and some days it completely vanishes. Successful people don't rely on it. Instead, they build systems, habits, routines, discipline. Systems create consistent, reliable progress, even on the days when you absolutely, positively do not feel like doing the work.
And finally, Section 6, How to Take Action. Let's look at some practical strategies to actually rewire those habits.
Okay, strategy number 1 is a total game changer. It's the 5-minute rule. You beat the overwhelm by literally tricking your brain. Just tell yourself, I only need to work for 5 minutes. That's it. Because starting is always the hardest part, you'll find that once you actually begin, momentum naturally takes over. Strategy number 2 works perfectly with this. Break tasks down into tiny steps. Don't tell yourself you need to study all of chemistry. Tell yourself you just need to read 2 pages. Shrinking the goal completely destroys that overwhelm effect we talked about earlier.
To keep that momentum rolling, strategy 3 is crucial. Remove your distractions. Put your phone in another room and turn off notifications so your brain stops seeking that cheap dopamine. Strategy 4, focus on progress, not perfection. Perfectionism creates procrastination because you're terrified of making a mistake. Just accept that done is better than perfect and take some imperfect action. Finally, strategy 5, create a study ritual. Do your work at the exact same time every day to train your biological brain to expect focus. You're relying on consistency rather than fleeting motivation. There's a great saying, action creates momentum, momentum creates discipline, and discipline creates success. Please remember this, you are not lazy, you are not broken, and you are absolutely not doomed to procrastinate forever. Your brain is simply following biological patterns, and those patterns can be rewritten. The goal isn't to magically wake up feeling motivated. The goal is to act despite the discomfort, knowing that taking that first tiny step sets off an unstoppable domino effect toward your own success.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to ask yourself, what is the one thing you've been procrastinating on the most lately? Think about how you can apply the 5-minute rule to that exact task today. Not tomorrow, today. Your future changes the exact moment you stop waiting and start acting. But the deeper question is this. If just 5 minutes can change your momentum today, what could a lifetime of systems do for your potential? Thank you so much for joining me, and hey, go take your 5 minutes of action right now.